Hello, my name is Renee Michelle, and I'm here for another exciting episode with my co host, Rich Gaspari.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Now, Rich, I'm getting into bikini.
hmm
How was it back then with the different
There were no,
divisions?
there were no divisions.
Oh,
So
really?
when you go back into the 80s and and even to the early 90s, well, it started early 90s. There was two divisions. There
Right,
was men's and there was women's.
right,
Of course, there was just men's bodybuilding. So when I turned pro, there was only five pros in the world.
right,
So today they give away pro cards like they're candy. There's so many pros that from all the divisions, weight classes. When I turned pro, you had to win Mr. Universe,
right,
and the only pros were those division winners. So when
right,
you won Mr. Universe, the lightweight, middleweight. I'm sorry, there's four pros in the world: lightweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. Four pros for the entire year. So when you turned pro, it really meant something because there was
right.
only four in the world. Women, the same thing. I think there was like maybe two divisions.
Mm,
So they would turn pro and they had this bodybuilding division.
right,
Women would pose like men, doing the poses,
right,
front double bicep and lat spread and all this stuff. And that's all there was. So it was very limited. Like women were very limited, and not a lot of women wanted to be bodybuilders. They wanted to develop their body, but they didn't want to become bodybuilders. And what
right,
was funny is what happened was there was another division that came about with women, which was fitness.
right.
Now, what was fitness? Fitness were like in shape women, not really bodybuilders. They were muscular,
But they
but
do
now they
like,
had to do routines.
yeah.
So these women were basically gymnasts. You had to do like
Mm.
these really hard routines, flips and tumbles and all kinds of
And it's
stuff.
really impressive
And
because I
it's
like,
impressive. But now you had these girls that were built, they were not all gymnasts.
yeah,
So they were seeing that was still limited again because you had bodybuilding. So then they came up with figure.
right.
Figure was basically women that I guess they wore heels, but they
Figure?
just posed. The figure wears heels. They show the front, back, and side. More like bodybuilding, they developed their shoulders and
Right,
they would get developed. And what happened was there was a lot of women like, I don't want to get like that. That's just still too big.
right,
You had women bodybuilding. You had now this fitness, with the routines, and then you had figure. But then there was something missing. They were like, what about just like a woman with a great body, like a beach body?
yeah.
What would that be? So then they decided to come up with
Bikini.
bikini. Bikini was more, you know, they were really lean, but they had like a nice butt.
Yeah,
Their legs were not super developed. They had a little bit of shoulder, but not too much. They had, thin arms,
yeah,
but they had great abs.
yeah,
And that was the division of bikini.
yes,
That division started growing like crazy because you had the fitness routine, which was just too complicated for women to do.
mm-hmm,
The figure, which again was a little bit just too hard to attain.
right,
Then you had women's bodybuilding, which was just at a whole nother level.
yeah,
That it started getting like negative press because the women were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
right,
So, you could see this division of bikini.
yeah,
It just started growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, and then lastly, what happened was is like women's bodybuilding became too much.
mm-hmm,
So then they were kind of frowning upon it. And then they actually brought it down to what was called women's physique,
uh,
which was like women that were built, but
right,
not as big as these women that were getting into bodybuilding.
right,
And then the most recent was wellness. I go to Brazil, probably like 13, 14 years ago to Brazil. I go to see like, a contest there.
mm-hmm,
And then I go to the gym and I'm seeing these women. And these women, I've never seen them. Like these were women with glutes that were like horse glutes. They were just so big
yeah.
on these women and legs, like almost like
They're
men's
built like
legs,
horses.
just like horses. These women, but it was impressive because I'm looking at these women like, holy, what is this? I've never seen it.
Right.
And they were just lifting like super heavy. It was something like Brazilians were really into like women with big glutes, with big butts,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
that's a thing. With, I'll be totally honest. That's a thing within like the Latin or like like the African American Black culture. Like
Butts.
we're known for that. Like
but
bottom
they
heavy.
but they accentuated, even
Yeah.
though they were known for it. Now they even develop it even more.
Oh yeah.
But these women would try to compete in American shows into
Uh-huh.
bikini,
Yeah.
but they were just like an anomaly because they were just too big.
Yeah.
Their butts were too big, their legs were too big, and it was just something that was just not they didn't do well in bikini.
Yeah.
And then what happened was they said like, look at these women, their upper body's not that big,
Right.
but they have these like beautiful legs and like just I like the division. I think wellness is really
Yeah.
cool how they can get like that. And they decided to add this other division, wellness.
Yeah.
So now you have how many divisions with women? You have women's bodybuilding,
Yeah. Bodybuilding.
women's physique, women's figure,
Yeah.
women's fitness, women's bikini, and women's wellness. You got
Holy
6 different
6.
divisions of women compared to when I competed, it was just one.
Oh, wow.
So women is really diverse. Men, what did you have? And that was it. But then what happened? They came up with men's physique. What is men's physique? They wanted to have a guy who was like a beach body guy.
Oh, yeah. I seen
because
that.
they wear board
board
shorts.
shorts. Yeah.
So they're dressed like that. But they started getting really developed, and all they
Right.
did was stand and show the front, the side, the back.
Right.
So that came about. And then what happened is they decided to come up with another division because the guys in bodybuilding were too big.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were shorter, say you were 5'3", 5'4",
Yeah.
5'5", you couldn't compete against a guy who was over 220, 230, 240.
Yeah.
Then you had the 212. The 212 is now guys. It used to start at it was 202,
Right.
and then they brought it to 212 because they figured that would be the division.
Well, now I notice, like, because I went to only 2 shows to watch, they also have different age brackets too.
Well, when I competed, there was teenager, there was men's open.
Right.
Well, actually, there's not many teenagers. It's funny. Back when I competed,
Right.
a lot of teenage bodybuilders. It was a lot of it was a lot of great teenagers that became. I was one of them that became pro. Sean Ray became pro. Lee Haney was Mr. America. Teenage Mr. America. But with men's, you had that 212 because the guys were too big.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had this great body, you still couldn't win Mr. Olympic because those guys are 40, 250. So they started the 212 division. And then what is that? You have men's physique, men's 212. And then what happened was guys were like, these guys are just too big. Why can't we bring it back to like the classic era?
Yeah.
And then what did they come up with? Classic physique, like Chris Bumstead.
Yeah.
Now you got some beautiful physiques that are in that category. Now it's men's physique, but classic. They pose like bodybuilders,
Mm-hmm.
but they're much smaller.
Right.
And they have to have a certain weight and height requirement to be in that division, which I like a lot because not everybody wants to see a huge, massive guy. They like to see an aesthetic looking guy who's
Right.
got a really pretty physique.
Right.
And that's why you have classic. So look at the diversity of the sport of how it changed from just 2 divisions, women 6 divisions,
Yeah.
men,
That's crazy.
men's bodybuilding, men's physique, men's 212, and men's classic bodybuilding. So you have 4
4
divisions in men
and 6.
and women.
Right.
So it's interesting because back then, like a girl who just love training, you're a good example.
Yeah.
You love training, but would you ever think about being a bodybuilder?
No.
But now you have bikini,
Yes.
which now you're challenged. I mean, you told me your story a little bit. You were like into like CrossFit.
Yeah, so I was into CrossFit and I did CrossFit for so many years. But before CrossFit, I grew up on martial arts and weapons and stuff. And I was
Cool.
doing like a bit of stunts. And then I stumbled into wrestling. But then it's like with wrestling, it's different when you have in-ring training. So it's like, yeah, I train in the ring, but I also have to like keep working out
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And luckily for my coaches, which they're like family to me, they're like one of my close friends. They convinced me to get out of CrossFit because I always hear like the stories how everyone always get injured and whatnot. And they got me into the gym. So then that's what like prepped me into like, oh, I actually like this. And then that's when I started like collecting like the the iron plates and everything else. And it's like kind of reminds me of my father and all this other jazz. So for 4 years, they've been trying to convince me to compete. And I'm like, nah, nah, nah. They're like, you have great genetics. Why don't you just give it a try? All you have to do is just adjust your diet. Like the muscle's there. It's just hidden with the diet because you eat everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally caved in about like 6 months ago, and I've been on this fitness journey then. And I guess like Ferlin, like he thought that, oh, maybe she should try like wellness. But like Jen, she was like, let's just put her in bikini to see how she is, because I think like, she could try it bikini, and if she likes it and if she wants to try to go up a stage,
Yeah,
then
go to wellness.
wellness,
Yeah.
But with wellness, like even though I had thicker glutes and thighs, but
Hmm.
I didn't have the muscle,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just,
yeah.
I absolutely love it. It's like now I'm more like addicted to it. Like when I go to the gym, it's like my zen time.
And I think it's great because it does give the opportunity for women that don't want to look like a bodybuilder, but they like the bikini
Yeah.
division, or they want to go into the wellness division, or
Yeah.
whatever division they want to get into. And that's why bikini is so popular, because it's more acceptable by the mainstream. Men, I'm used to seeing women built like bodybuilding, but when you put that into mainstream, they look at women that are just having arms like guys. They're
Yeah.
like, no,
Get intimidated,
well, it's
like,
intimidating.
yeah, it's
But
intimidating.
even bikini, they're pretty built. I mean, I look at you, you got good shoulders, good arms, good legs. So you have to be developed, but you're
Yeah.
not this crazy developed where
Yeah.
someone looks at you. You can wear clothes and people
Yeah.
are not going to look at you and go, oh my God, look at that girl, how she looks.
Yeah, like I do enjoy this fitness journey. Would I compete again? I think so. I could see myself competing again, definitely for sure.
You got the genetics. You
Yeah,
should.
thank you.
Yeah.
But it's like next week I actually do my first show. Never done it, so I'll pray. They told me like, look, this is your first show. If you don't win, that's okay. Just know some of the girls might be on a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
You're doing more of a natural type of look. So it's like don't beat yourself up about it. Just you just
Well, you're
tried it.
stepping on stage and you're getting to look at yourself compared to other women that are
Right.
competing, and then you can see what critique yourself, or your coach can critique you
Yeah.
to say you need to improve this, you need to do this,
Yes.
you need to do that.
Right.
But again, it's cool that you're getting into it where you wouldn't get into it if there was just one division.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And even for men may not want to go into bodybuilding because they got to get so much bigger.
Yes.
I talked, one of the podcasts about having to take more and more drugs and steroids to get really, really big.
Yeah.
Or you can go more classic. And not that they're natural, but
Right.
it's much less to look like that. And
Right.
I feel safer because to get into the bodybuilding, it's just at a whole nother level. Guys are, I'm 5'8", and I competed the most at 225. There's guys 5'8" competing at 265. That's the
Jesus.
difference in the amount of muscle that the guys have. So it's a much different sport, being in bodybuilding. But then in classic, a guy my height at 5'8" can only be like, say, 200 pounds.
Really?
That's the weight, the height and weight requirement to competing. Classic shows more the classic lines. You have to have very small waist, small joints, and
Yeah.
big muscle bellies. So you have this like, aesthetic physique. Bodybuilding is just a lot of mass on guys.
Yeah. And what I also noticed with the bikini,
Oh,
the
yeah.
posing is hard.
Yes.
Like working out and like getting your body right is one thing, but doing the posing, and especially in heels, I have never walked and tried to flex and then twist my body
With
and
heels.
with heels, and then you still have to like walk like you have a stick up your ass.
Yeah.
And it's like, who walks like this?
No.
Like no woman that I know like regularly
it.
walk like this.
Or that pose at the end when you show your glutes and you
Yeah,
stick your
like
butt out.
you gotta sit on your hip, and like,
Yeah,
And
stick
I was
your
like,
butt out.
yeah, it's not for me. It's not natural. You go like, well, you're sexy, you can walk or whatever. It's one thing me being like, walking and just being myself. Now I have to like think about how can I be sexy and still have a smile without without the corners of my mouth twitching.
But that's the whole thing about it is you have to train yourself to, like, people think it's that easy to walk like that, but it's not.
It's not.
It's not easy to walk and go on stage, to do that whole routine that women have to do, bikini women have to do. But you got to look at it. You have women bikini and wellness. I think they have the same walk.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And how the same poses.
Yeah.
Pretty much, except one has like bigger legs.
Yeah.
Bigger glutes.
Yeah, and then they told me like with the wellness, it's gonna take me forever to get like bigger legs and glutes.
Well, like you said, you have good genes that develop your glutes and legs much easier. So just
eating,
and you'd have to eat more. You always have to be careful. So this is what's cool about the new women's divisions is they have to be careful how they develop themselves. When it's funny, back in the day, you had women's bodybuilding. And I have to say, these women had like chicken butts. They didn't have any butts. They developed themselves like a men's bodybuilder.
Right.
But then they didn't have any glutes. And like, why did they have glutes? Because they didn't train their glutes.
Right.
And then what happened is because of Brazil. these
Right.
these
Well,
trainers, they came up with all these exercises. I mean,
right.
I talked about it earlier that, I did lunges. And
Right.
that's just one exercise that women do to develop their glutes, but there's so many. There's sumo squats, there's push outs, that you do. What about hip thrusts
Oh, the
that
hip thrust.
women do?
Oh,
That's all like new exercises that were,
really?
those are all designed by Brazilian trainers to get women to develop just their butt without developing, say, their legs as much. So
Ooh,
it's kind of
okay.
cool. There was one trainer because you have gluteus maximus, gluteus minimus. Your butt, believe it or not, has a lot of different muscle.
Right.
Underneath, the top,
Over
the side.
sides,
So
like center.
you're training all those different sections of the butt that
So
normally is
complicated.
that's normally not trained. And these trainers that, like I told you, that came from Brazil came up with all these exercises. And now everybody knows how to do all these exercises to
Right.
train glutes. I know women, probably yourself, because I know a lot of wellness and bikini, they train their glutes 3 times a week.
Right.
Where back in the day, I don't think women trained their butt at all.
Yeah.
And I
Oh
didn't
no, no,
like,
no, they didn't.
no, they didn't know
Yeah.
how to train their butt. And
Well,
that,
I mean, like back in the day, the women, they like when I was seeing some of the fitness women, they kind of look like a Barbie.
they had, they're developed, but they just, like I said, no butt.
Yeah.
It was
It's
like,
like a Barbie, like
yeah,
a teeny thing.
yeah.
But then, like with the women from Brazil and stuff, they're just like bum bum,
They just,
like
right, they went to another level.
yeah,
So when you talk about the differences, here's another good thing is when I turned pro, it was 4.
right,
Now you have hundreds of pros, different divisions, different people getting into the sport, and it's just diversified it so much that it's kind of cool. I like the divisions. I like classic bodybuilding. I'm really impressed with it. I like men's bodybuilding because those guys just get so massive. And then you see like women. I mean, I think it's really cool to see a woman get developed like that. It's not something that I particularly like,
yeah,
for me to date one of them,
yeah,
but they're still cool and how they're able to get themselves
yeah.
to look like that.
See, it's like I like the bikini version that I'm at like right now.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how it would look like if I was in wellness because right now I'm already having a hard time pulling up my pants as it is because I
yeah,
lost so much.
yeah.
But then it's like.
Well, then you're going to be able to,
Like
your butt's going to be much bigger, so you're going to need
yeah.
bigger pants.
Yeah, I know. It's like small waist but bigger pants. Like I can't win,
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. We'll see after like this competition. And like I said, like I see myself doing another one, maybe another bikini. Like maybe I'll probably train within a year or two to get up
And
to.
how is it? Are you still wrestling?
Yeah. So
So how is it being able to train for a competition, but then also do your job?
oh, dude, it was hard. Like now because it's like when I had the weight when I started, I was 145, 148. Now I'm 121.
Wow.
So yeah, so being tossed around the ring, I feel it a lot more
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
don't have like that
No
water
fat.
and that fat to protect me,
Yes, you're getting beat
So
up.
now, yeah, yeah. So I guess like this chick, when I was wrestling over in Mexico, it happened in over Mexico City. I wrestled this woman named Sagittarius, and she gave me her finisher. It was like some sort of brain buster, and then like she tossed me around another time, but I just know that I was just like. No, she gave me a power bomb. So I was on the ground. She grabbed me by my waist, flipped me upside down, and she had me up on her shoulders. And I thought it was just like a moment so I could be able to brace for it. No, this woman, she just slammed me right through the damn canvas. You would have thought like my soul went through the canvas, and I'm like, yeah, I'm too little for this shit. Like I cannot. Like
I mean, so it has to be really hard to be able to
yeah,
train. I mean, right now you're dieting,
yes,
training,
yes.
and then you're also, so how can you travel if you're doing this wrestling and stay on your diet?
Oh, I take my food everywhere with me.
So
Yeah, I
it's like,
stuff it in my bag and everything, and I just
good.
take everything with me.
But again, we talked about earlier about the sport and how much it changed. It's just it's like whatever suits you, what you want to do.
Yeah.
But at least it's keeping it where, you'll get more people to train
Yeah.
because they may not want to be, they don't want to be a bodybuilder, but they'll want to be a classic. Or some people want to train and be, board shorts,
Yeah.
men's physique.
Yeah.
And I'm still impressed with them because they definitely develop. They don't focus on their legs because they're wearing board shorts.
Yeah.
But actually now they actually changed it.
Yeah, I seen they're starting to slowly focus on their legs.
Because they actually said, like, we like to see your legs develop. Not that you see them, but you still kind of see.
Yeah, you don't want to walk around with
Some
chicken
guys
legs.
were like chicken legs in their upper develop of their body, and then chicken, and then winning shows.
Yeah, but it's not proportionate. It don't look proportionate. It looks
You
kind
wanna-
of like
yeah,
weird.
so-
Yeah.
I mean, all in all, it's kind of cool how it's gotten where there's so many people more participating in, we call it bodybuilding, but it's body shaping.
Yeah.
You know, whatever your needs are, not your needs, whatever you want to get into.
Right.
And to be.
Yeah. All right, Rich. Well, thank you so much for all the insight and definitely letting me know. I did not know there was 6. You know, I thought it was
6
like
divisions.
6 divisions in women's.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. I really appreciate you like giving me all the insight.
No,
and,
cool.
Like educating me on
Pleasure having you as a co-host.
Thank you,
Renee. And like I said, I wish you luck in this competition and in your wrestling.
Thank you so much.